Good evening, everybody. We are back to Doom tonight. Now, the way that it's been going lately, and I won't rule this out as a possibility, but I am definitely feeling very worn out after today, and I am starting later than I had wanted. So, the most likely outcome is that we will just focus on Doom today and not do Ace Attorney. But I won't rule it out as a possibility. It's just the way I'm feeling right now isn't great. And I will confess, I'm trying to be a bit balanced about Friday, but that was actually one of the more discouraging streams that I had. So we did Cyberpunk, but I think one of the things that I noticed about that one, I think it's the second largest like drops in terms of followers on the day. And it's easy to see why. It's the fact that I had talked about AI stuff. It was actually, I mean, there are people who'd been following the channel for years coming in asking purity test questions. And my inclination, frankly, on that is to double down and just do more of that, because I really don't feel I really actually don't like that kind of attitude. It is usually the thing that I want to reward with more of it. But I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the fact of the matter, as it always is the case, I should definitely be focusing on the people who show up and will be pleasant, as opposed to spend time on the people who want to ruin things. Because they're going to be temporary. I don't necessarily think that people who are just trying to have a good time should feel should be dragged down any more than they already are on it. But I'm not going to lie, it's actually discouraging for two big reasons, which actually have very little to do with the overall stream. One of the kind of convictions that I have in terms of creative work is that and I talked about this with somebody recently, and I kind of needed to accept that there's a certain kind of right coding that people take out of this, which I don't think is maybe the fairest interpretation, but I can understand where people have it. But, when you hear the idea of diversity of opinion, right? Sometimes there's somebody trying to sort of smuggle a certain type of idea in that doesn't really have any place in that conversation. But I do actually tend to feel that this sort of thing is quite important in terms of doing creative work. So when it comes down to, like the example that I usually give on this would be, there is something we should be a little worried about if I can know someone's opinion on AI, like large language models, or the something like Stable Diffusion or Midjourney or such, and different tech. I mean, it's always a tough one, right? Because AI is not a very useful term sometimes, but large language models are only one part of the things that people are excited or frustrated about right now. But sometimes it's just easier to use the term everybody's familiar with. But we're at a point now, I think, where, you can give me somebody's opinion on AI, and particularly as relates to creative endeavors. And that will be a predictor of their opinions on, I don't know, Palestine and Tesla and, and the fact of the matter is, while I'm using kind of the hot button ones as an illustration, but, under normal circumstances, these things probably shouldn't be related to each other. There are some things which are, fairly common sense, and I can kind of get why there might be a commonality there. But we're kind of at a point now where someone is expected to have a take, and more importantly, that take is sort of expected to align with sort of a basket of other beliefs, even though they're not really related to each other. They're about whether or not you're on the right team. And I think this is very, very dangerous as far as doing good creative work is concerned. My view is kind of not really the whole, free speech should be my ability to project whatever I want out into the world. I'm not entirely sure that's ever been the case. More so, it's the mechanism through which I can find out that I'm in error, I suppose. But I do kind of feel that there has to be enough room for people to be able to mess up in order to have good things happen, like good things be made. And obviously, I don't mean to minimize like genuinely awful behavior. None of this is intended to be. And I mean, I really don't like the fact that I feel that I even need to clarify against what would inevitably be a bad faith attack. It's like, oh, so you support terrible things. No, I would have voiced the support for the terrible things if I wanted to support terrible things. But yeah, like, it's just one of these cases where I think even if somebody is just completely wrong on the use of AI in the creative work, I am not entirely sure that is a, burn bridges kind of moral error. And I think what is much more likely is that the certainty that people feel on a subset of things will eventually turn into uncertainty and possibly even a conviction in the other way given enough time. And very often what's required is one person to demonstrate something to the contrary, right? So once upon a time, you wouldn't get on Steam unless you were a big game company. There had been people making indie games before that. There'd been people successfully operating as commercial entities in indie games. But the idea of being on Steam was something that maybe wasn't a given. And then, of course, now this is everybody's, aspiration. And we're probably past the point where people assume that that's a guarantee for success. But there is a certain model of indie development now which is taken for granted, despite the fact that it is actually something that would have been beyond anybody's conception or or beyond anybody's realistic expectation in terms of what they could achieve. And we don't see that kind of progress unless we have people who are either willing to take some kind of a risk, or maybe they can sometimes luck into it, but I'm not entirely sure you can get infinitely lucky over a series of actions. And the analogy that I would draw for this is you hear the term AI slop thrown out around a whole lot. And I guess the thing I would be far more worried about would be orthodox slop. I'm really not that interested in something that tries to gauge what my opinions on things will be and then tries to feed up ideas that it thinks I want to hear, or the orthodoxy. Everything doesn't have to be, a super complicated and deep subject either. I mean, I am playing Doom, for crying out loud. But I do like the idea that, if I want, I can sit down and play a Cultist Simulator or a Book of Hours and I'll have to think about it. Or it will present me with something that's not obvious and I'll be able to chew on it for a little bit and enjoy it. And I imagine in a world that doesn't challenge you or doesn't present things you don't want to hear, you are not going to have enriching experiences like that. And I definitely feel that is a far greater loss than, having to go online and see, not very imaginative applications of AI. I'm not particularly happy to see people's, single prompts and put them on, on social media. I actually really didn't like the arrival of stuff like Stable Diffusion because everybody was, putting out their little variation on it. But, and this will be kind of the close off for it. The other thing that really discouraged me about it, while I'm going to go ahead and do whatever work I want to. Whether or not I share it is another question. But I think the thing that also really discourages me about the current dynamic on this is that I can definitely imagine some situation where someone is excited about a creation that they've made, through a prompt or whatever. And there's going to be someone who, basically says that's not art, or, you shouldn't have done that. Basically, somebody who's just going to be purely negative and crap on the thing. And I can remember once upon a time when I really liked drawing. This would have been sort of around elementary and middle school. And I remember hearing, well, that doesn't count. That's not real art. That's not, that's not a real teacher, because I did something science fiction. I eventually stopped doing it. And I do actually kind of wish that I was better at drawing than I am. I think I'm okay at photography and such, but being able to sit down and sketch something out is actually something that I never really developed past those original skills. And then, even those have atrophied. Like, I've definitely tried to put together images, and I really do struggle to, to make an image like I would like to. And especially, too, because I've seen a couple of people who said, I'll show you what my early work looked like. And it looks like better, their early work, like their first stuff, looks better than my, genuinely really trying my best to make this thing look good. And of course now, there's always the saying, right, that comparison is the thief of joy. I don't feel bad that somebody's better than me at this, but I do feel bad that is something that I wanted to do and want to do now, and that ultimately I had sort of allowed the shifting goalposts to be something that meant I didn't invest in that particular ability. And I mean, in the end, I think for a lot of people who just want to jump in on the bandwagon, yelling AI slop, and the people I feel the worst for are people who actually don't use this tech, and somebody decides to just say that at them. I mean, you saw that in the chat. Like, there was a jackass who was, I guess, trying to say I was an AI or something like that. Half of their stuff was incomprehensible, so I'm not 100% sure what the argument was. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the discouragement, I mean, having a stream that people don't like, I think that's just, that's just life. I'll get over that. But I will confess that in terms of the negative reactions that I saw on some things, I definitely feel that they're symptomatic of a really bad way that people are thinking about these things. And I would challenge the idea that you have to, I would challenge the idea that somebody can follow this channel for years, demand the purity test, that title better be better be clickbait. Well, no, actually, I think clickbait's worse than working with AI. And that, that's sufficient to I mean, obviously people can follow or not as they want. But just this knee-jerk response to something that isn't your thing, I don't know. It's hard to feel good about that. So anyways, so that combined with the fact that I am actually very, very tired. I'm still struggling to get proper night's sleep. This is leaving me in a tight spot in terms of getting a full stream done. So I figured I'd get that off my chest, get the kind of try to shake the cobwebs out. I do have some tea in front of me, although I don't want to. Obviously, I don't want it to be too caffeinated. Otherwise, I extend my bedtime problems. But I'm hoping we can do a good stream tonight.
You have now destroyed 68% of Hell's occupying force. Without the priests, the demons will not consume Earth as the Khan Maker had planned. But there is still one priest left, and I have lost his signal. I can no longer locate him. Dr. Hayden will be able to find him. Dr. Hayden is transferring himself into your ship's mainframe. The architecture is similar to his own. This will...
Final priest is hiding in Sentinel Prime. The Khan Maker does not want him to be easily found. The only functional slipgate to Sentinel Prime is in the core of Mars, in the lost city of Ibeth. I have marked its location for you, but getting there will take time. There is no easy way to access the core of Mars.
There are no known pathways that lead there, Dr. Hayden.
The BFG 10,000, designed by Dr. Samuel Hayden as part of the Anti-Demonic Defense Grid.
I understand. Searching the coordinates to the BFG 10,000 now.
You can't just shoot a hole into the surface of Mars.
The portal is ready.
Sounds to me like I can. ARC Broadcast Log 4. This is an ARC broadcast. ARC personnel have reported that the Slayer made his way to Dr. Hayden's tower and retrieved his remains. We do not know why. Unnamed sources inside the organization claim that Dr. Hayden anticipated the Slayer's arrival. We can only hope this is true and that the resistance can continue. If you can just give me a quick second. Okay. Sentinel batteries. You have unspent Sentinel batteries in your inventory. Spend them in the Fortress of Doom to unlock Sentinel crystals, mod bots, and Praetor suit points. Alright, I should probably, as much as I want to shoot the hole into Mars, let's, Alright, so suit point. I guess it's one of each. And I've got 5 of them, so I should be able to... I'll probably just get one suit point, one upgrade, and then we'll save the rest. Okay, so I can add the energy shield, the heat blast. Well, it's the energy shield or the heat blast. Let's do... I'll do the energy shield, but I do want to keep the mobile turret. I'm trying not to rant for a long time about the sort of the base building and all of that, but it's hard just because it's very unusual. Very unusual to have it in Doom. So I haven't spent one of these in a while. Okay. Right, because these are a complete pain to think about. All right, so I've got 16. Dash refills more quickly is actually kind of tempting now. Immune to... Oh, man. Regenerating barrels actually sounds pretty good. So I think what I'm going to do... I do tend to like, so stuff like the extra exploration is really nice, but I don't like the idea of using a scarce resource to help me with the exploration. I like the idea of like being able, so like dash refilled on glory kills, dash refills more quickly. Like this sort of stuff has a direct benefit. So I'm gonna do the faster dash and also the grappler. Okay, so yeah, these are tempting, but I think I'm going to do immune from barrel explosions, just because I do have a tendency for self-sabotage on this front. And in fact, I'm going to go for each of these. So the idea behind going for, I might as well get the environment. So one, it's about survivability, but number two, I can definitely see myself adjusting to a strategy that tries to take advantage of more red barrels. So I wanted to try and build some encouragement for that. So finally, it's between the frag and the frost. So I'm not going to be able to do the 5 for each of these, but so we've got each demon killed by the grenade explosion spawns scatter bombs. Damaging and killing frozen enemies will drop health. So neither of those are quite enough for me to say, yeah, I need to throw everything I've got into that. Permafrost is tempting because it's a longer freeze. Less time to cool down after firing is also tempting. So you know what? I'm going to do Ice Bomb just because the logic behind that one really is if I... Now that's interesting that that's red now. Anyways, so the logic behind this one is chances are if I need to use this once, I'm potentially going to need to use this a few other times as well. So I figure the Ice Bomb is the... Ice Bomb is probably the more reliable option. Does mean that I'll be using the grenade less, but that's fine because I have other ways of making things go boom. Which of course also implies that I should be getting more ammo before too long. With the help of Samuel Hayden, the final Hell Priest has been located on Sentinel Prime, a city from your past. The only known path to this now accursed place is through the dimensional gateway hidden in the core of Mars, wherein the lost city of Hebeth resides. The journey there will take time you can't afford to waste, a dilemma which calls for a more direct approach.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
The power source of the BFG 10,000 should be of interest to you as well.
This is a long cutscene for the start.
Warning, the Slayer has entered the facility. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Not quite what I meant to do, but that works.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Nope. Gotta worry about that pinky. I actually can't see the pinky. Ole!
Warning, BFG 10,000
I feel
is
like the
firing.
damage has gone up a whole lot. Let me just take a quick second here and make sure. Yeah, so I don't quite want to go on Nightmare yet, but I guess this is just a more powerful weapon? I probably should also be trying to get the armor at this point, but I do want to take a minute. All right, I didn't do a good job of looking to see if there's any goodies for me to pick up.
Warning, Slayer threat level at maximum. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Okay, it's all very interesting, but I still want to get my loot. I don't really have any more options, but faster glory. Oh, we've already. No. So faster glory kills are kind of tempting just because I have gotten to the point a couple of times where they do slow down the flow a little bit, but I don't know if I quite want to get to a point where I'm giving that up for, or I'm giving up a more utilitarian.
Emergency. Just dial 6 3 times on your mobile phone, and a UAC representative will be glad to.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Well, hi there. Shotgun, please. Okay, not quite what I wanted, but works too.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing. BFG 10,000 is firing.
Some of this is just about getting ammo at this point. Okay, inconvenient. I can't remember. Oop. I cannot remember what weapon I'm supposed to use on that guy. I realize this is completely ruining the mood, but Cyber Mancubus. Oh, that's right. It's the blood punch. Okay.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
The music says there should be somebody here still.
10,000 is firing. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Okay, probably shouldn't have done that.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Okay, not great, but I should be able to fix some of this.
10,000 is firing. Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Ah, crap. Didn't realize I was out of fuel on that. Okay, something's in my way.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Nope, that was definitely not the thing I wanted to lock onto.
Warning,
I've been trying to get the turret.
is firing.
Oh yeah, I also forgot to check the goals of this level. Alright, sorry to do that again. Kill 40 demons with a very big gun. Disarmament, destroy 3 arm cannons, arm cannon weak points and mancubi, and find the Slayer key. Well, they're not asking for much.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Oh god, get out.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Critical damage.
Okay, I gotta get my health back.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
God damn it. I was really hoping to get, there was one of those ads that hopefully could have given me some health, but I had to give up the 1-up.
10,000 is fired.
You kidding me? Oh god, if I lose another life on this, I'm gonna be mad.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Okay, not my best work.
The entrance is locked. They know you were trying to get in.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
On the bridge.
So obviously here I'm going to try and grab the armor that or the ammo that I can.
Warning, BFG 10,000 is firing.
Really? I'll take it. That's what I was looking for. When it is a fixed place, when it's fixed on the fixed on the ground, I think so, Joshua man. Good to see you. I think you're the first talker in here. I don't want to say you're the first person inside, but it is. I will confess, not that I want to sound too mopey on these things, but when I come off of a not as good stream, it is actually always nice to just have that first person come in and say hello. So I appreciate that quite a bit. I hope you are doing well today. I don't know about a trophy, but you've earned my momentary respect. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Congratulations. Well, I don't know if I should say congratulations for getting time off, but hey, you wanted to know about the BFG 10,000? Here you go. Vega data entry. Originally established as a mining and communication relay, the UAC outpost on Phobos began immediate expansion following the destruction of the Argent facility on Mars. The UAC board of directors, intent on retaining their monopoly of the Red Planet and its surrounding airspace, issued the construction of an expansive defense platform. Using technology derived from the BFG 9000, the design plan called for a massive particle cannon to be built on the orbiting moon. The BFG 10,000, the largest man-made weapon platform ever conceived, wields enough firepower to defend against even the most sophisticated of capital-grade FTL cruisers in existence, or against the eventual potentiality of a space-bound demonic threat. Just need one more of those. Oh, well that explains a lot. Now, this says to me, nope. One thing I'm pleasantly surprised by on the Doom Eternal soundtrack,
I'm serious, that guy doesn't scare me. I'd like to see him try.
contains the energy source of the BFG 10,000. I'm lowering it for you now.
I'm telling you, he's on his way. I need you to... No!
They don't let me push the button.
Safety
Would you like me to disable the safety protocols?
I feel if the
The pod is set to self-destruct. We should move ahead.
I feel if the mildly antagonistic character tells you can't just shoot a hole on Mars, I feel like you are
The Slayer has control.
I feel you're kind of obligated to let the player be the one to shoot the hole into Mars. The BFG 9000 is capable of killing most demons with a single shot. Press the left mouse button to launch a colossal ball of energy that will generate deadly tendrils as it passes nearby demons. It is a melee weapon, really?
The emergency exit port should take you directly to the Mars surface facility.
I don't think that got me the... Okay, 15. And I think that's a Fifth Element reference, you know, for the old people. That's nice of them to give you a recharge right away, though. It's like Chekhov's BFG. You can't just have a BFG and not let someone fire it.
You can use the facility escape pods to get down to the Mars core, but we have no way of reaching it from here.
Oh, come on. Alright, this one's gonna get a little tricky, but... Oh, I screwed up. Didn't need it, though. Never mind. Didn't want to do that anyway.
You pray for his return. The Slayer, the savior of humanity. You think one man can stop the armies of hell?
Okay, happy to see the 1-up. Not so sure about how I unlock the room, though. Not immediately clear to me how that benefits me.
Welcome to
Oh dear. So something's buffed. I just don't know what. Oh, that thing probably. Oh no. It's buffed, but it's not the thing with the totem. Alright, let's find this thing. Alright, sorry, I thought I was thinking of the enhanced, the enhanced enemy, that wasn't, yeah. Okay, I need to smarten up. Yeah, kill the things. All right. I lost my one up again. It's a shame because I was trying to focus on the stuff that that would get me those, get me the health, but I was a little too disorganized. So that'll help me with energy. Alright, Empowered Demon was what I was thinking about. Alright, now that's not fun, but I've got a couple things to work in my favor. Oh crap. Alright. I was getting a bit better at not having to go to checkpoints, but clearly I blew it. Oh, that's really cool that you can shoot out their legs. Ah, crap. So I thought I saw a Mancubus somewhere. Yep. Come on. That probably cost me more health than that earned me, but that was at least satisfying to do. Also, I'm a little curious why it doesn't say there's an Empowered Demon. Maybe only get one shot at those. Okay, so under challenges I should have... Nope, just the one. So obviously there was a secret higher up that I didn't follow up on. At least in Doom it does. Well, there's that room that I was neglecting.
Access to surface gun bridge granted. Manual loading initiated.
That is a weapon, not a teleporter.
See Jessica in HR and sign up now for the UAC Mortally Challenged Blood Drive. Be generous. Give your blood. Give all of your blood.
Alright, so I am hoping that I find... the Slayer key. But right now I really just want to focus on making sure that I get into a sufficiently crowded...
The ion catapult is designed to use only approved UAC ammunition.
Oh man, what a badass.
Override loading sequence. Fire. 3, 2, 1.
You know what? Oh, okay, apparently I don't know the BFG button. So let's just work that out right now. 8. Now, why I'm spending the ammo on this, I can't really tell you. Anyways, I was gonna say something about the soundtrack. Obviously, they've got the metal part down. They seem to have figured that one out in the first one. Yeah, I have no idea, Joshy. But I remember, so for those of you that are interested in the soundtrack for this game, there is a talk by Mick Gordon. This was after the first game, and they kind of talk about the progression of the Doom soundtrack, because apparently the original intention was not to have metal at all. And there were some sort of more experimental electronic tracks that were included in the game in the first place. Okay, so I'm guessing I need to do one of these smart person bits. It's actually, I thought it was kind of an interesting little talk, not least... Oh, that's interesting. Not least because I thought it was a pretty decent little example of how, when you're given sort of a creative, like when you're given like you hire a creative person, right? And I realized that was a very controversial statement on Friday. Apparently, other people get to decide what creativity is. Ooh. But you know, I think it's I imagine the composer for Doom and Doom Eternal, their creativity is not really in question. And what I thought was kind of interesting about the talk was I thought it was a pretty decent example. That's interesting. Of how you can, you can hire a talent, and some of the instructions that you can give to sort of preserve the how do I put it? Like, oh, damn it. I don't think I'm going to make it. In fact, there's an argument that I should probably just stop. Oh, no. Well, at least I get some health back. But yeah, that was a disaster. But yeah, so basically, you can hire someone creative, but even your favorite and the best artist that you can think of, you probably have like albums that they've done or movies that they've made or games that they've made that you think are better than the other ones. And so in my view, there's a really interesting question that you ask, which is, suppose that you already have the best talent, or at the very least access to the best talent. How do you motivate it, and how do you create conditions under which it creates its best work? Because that's a bit different than a money question. I think a lot of people wish that this problem could be answered with money, but it's not. Sorry, I should probably just check the codex for a second. I don't think that's necessarily assured, right? Like, there's lots of indie films that do very well despite not having that much of a budget. And then there are, this map. I don't use it nearly as much as I should, so I think I'm trying to remember if this little thing is the 1-up or not. But yeah, you can already see that there's a few things that I missed. I think this might have been in the first Doom, now that I think of it. Oh, that's encouraging. So the it seems like the secret gate's way at the end there. Or Slayer Gate. So anyways, there's a few books that I've liked reading about it. There's one by Ed Catmull, who is one of the founders of Pixar, called Creativity Inc., which I thought was pretty interesting. There's a book by a microeconomist named David Krebs. Krebs is a really, really talented economist. Former Stanford Business School, but I think he's emeritus now. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can sort of attack this question. I obviously am a little bookish, so I'm probably going to feel a little more comfortable with these questions when I'm how do I put it? Like, when I'm sitting down reading a book on the concept, there's a few different ways that you can approach it. And in the case of the GDC talk, I think Mick Gordon does a really good job of articulating how he was initially excited about an approach that actually wasn't really appropriate for the game. Just trying to remember. I should probably work out some favorites here at this point. So, I don't want the weapon skin. Huh. So this 41, I'm pretty sure, means that I can do some kind of an upgrade, but I don't recall how. Oh, it's right here. So I didn't want to spend too much time outside of the game, but what I really liked about that talk, on top of just sort of hearing how Doom got its very recognizable sort of metal soundtrack, it was, to me, very interesting to sort of hear how he wasn't necessarily told everything that he was doing was great, but the guidance that he was given allowed him to sort of experiment and get to a place where the really recognizable soundtrack comes in. And I think it's very hard, if you've not wrestled with these kinds of problems yourself, it can be very hard to understand like why that is significant to have a talk that that sort of brings those topics up. But I think they're quite important because, I mean, to a certain extent, everybody kind of wishes that they could be more creative, I think. But very rarely do you get a chance to actually see something that you really admire and sort of be able to understand how it got there. So that's one reason why I like that talk. Also, I just generally like hearing GDC talks from interesting people, so... All right, so let's also... So Arachnotron turrets using sticky bombs. I really should have done this stuff faster. 5 enemies during a single turret deploy 10 times without overheating. I think at this point I'm just going to throw everything that I can. Okay, 75 precision bolt headshots. That's pretty unlikely I'm going to do that, actually. Kill at least one nearby demon with the microwave explosion. So again, that's one that's not immediately obvious, but right now I just kind of want to get the points. I think I prefer a faster respawn, reload, so... Okay, so one problem I'm running into here is I don't have ammo, so I'm going to start with a chainsaw on this one. And then maybe some fire, too. Oh, damn it. Oh, man. All right. I mean, the BFG is a nice cheat if I get desperate. I'll try one more time. I'm not sure that was worth it for the BFG, but I got past the challenge. That's what matters. Got another one up. That's nice. I don't have ammo problems anymore. Well then. Oh, this is where I came before, I'm pretty sure. This definitely feels different, though. Headshots. But yeah, anyway, sorry. The point I wanted to make was that some of the initial sounds coming from in that talk don't exactly sound like this. Like, it wasn't really. I don't think it would have really worked for Doom as we know it. But I definitely feel there's a little bit of a reflection of it in this game. All right, this isn't super smart, but all right, I'll take it. I guess I'm supposed to try and get past this rotating. All right. Lovely. All right. So I'm curious if I can stun the Cacodemon with a grenade. See, I would have preferred not to have gotten damaged by the other Cacodemon. Oh, I gotta get out of here. Alright, it took all the ammo away from me. Thanks. So this would have been a great time for the BFG. Oh, that's not... that didn't do what I wanted at all! Alright, that was dumb. Okay. I guess the one thing I'm happy about is I did not lose my 1-up. Although I am wasting a lot of time on exploring. And under challenges, I still need to get 14 more enemies with the BFG. So I really should just be waiting for a big room full of bad guys at this point. I don't remember what these guys do again. Pain Elemental. The Ballista does bonus damage to flying demons. I think that's 7? No. But this is still fun. This was the Ballista. I'll just wait till he gets closer. Oops. Okay, so there's a one-up over there, which I want to keep an eye on. But it looks like it wants me to bounce on the blue panels. And then that thing's gonna... Oh, that wasn't that hard. Gentlemen, there's no need to fight. Okay, that was very rewarding, but... Ah, I see now. Okay. Oh, crap. No. Okay, how the hell am I going to make this work? I think I have an idea, but... Okay. Nope. I have to try that again once that goes through. Okay, so... God. I don't know if I value the Praetor point that much. Okay, happy for the BFG Willikers. Oh God. Oh no! Okay, that pain elemental is going to be a problem. Just give me the damn... There we go. God, this is the worst place for me to be. Okay, at this point... Oh, that sucks. I really need the ammo. I also need clearer direction in terms of where I'm going. So this isn't hurting me. I can take the time to think. That's just armor. It wants me to go somewhere in there. Oh, can it be as easy as this? That was such a waste of the BFG, but there's a bunch of guys there, so... it's Pain Elemental again? Sure sounds like it. But also out of ammo. Okay, ideally I'll find a way to get that one up, but... Okay. Okay, not ideal. I'm pretty sure I got the one up. Ammo, please. Help! Damn it. Trying to get health almost always winds up with me paying more. Sure, I'll take it. I do need to get a little bit better at identifying the weapons from the numbers, but... Okay, so... Yeah, this actually makes me feel a little bad. So I would have preferred to go for more ammo, but I value completing the loot magnet more. So research drops get pulled in from much further away. So what we'll do here is we'll get loot magnet, and then the next entry I'll go armor for blood, which should give me max ammo. Sorry, do what, Joshuman? I think probably the delays... Actually, I think the delay's fine. I just think I'm not all together here today, for which I apologize. Oh yeah. I don't know. Like I don't feel it's that hard in this game, but oh boy. You know what? We need something stronger. I actually really like how he gets stunned by the super shotgun, though. Alright, that shot sucked. Yeah, so I feel it's not that hard, but I don't quite have that muscle memory down. And I will say, probably unlike, say, Quake, that I did for the first time, I think about a year ago now, this definitely has a faster pace. I don't remember if you've been here kind of during the start of a couple of these streams, Joshuman, but I've been commenting on how, like, the earlier Doom remake, Doom 2016, really seemed to be this... kind of smart interrogation of, you know, what made Doom feel like Doom, while not ignoring the development of first-person shooters over the last few decades. So I don't really want to go too far in here, but... I do want to find the key. So yeah, anyways, so basically I kind of get the impression that you could do a reasonable approximation of, you know, Doom 2016's meetings by saying, it's like, okay, so, you know, what did you like about Doom? I never played it. It's like, okay, get the hell out of my office, go play this for a bit. You know, people will kind of comment on things like, well, you know, I don't seem to be reloading. Like, do we need reloading in a game like this? And this one of the things that they seem to have done that doesn't wasn't, it was present, but it wasn't as heavily emphasized. There we go. The whole sort of searching for secrets and things like that. But one of the things that I think for Doom 2016 that worked really well for it was, again, it kind of came out at a time when it was taken for granted that, like, if I'm in the middle of a fight and then I hide behind a wall, my health's going to go back up. And they sort of said, well, we can't say that doesn't exist. Like, there's an expectation that players have today in terms of how they're going to get health. But how do we do this in a way that encourages them to do the thing that we think is fun, which is to just sort of run around the level and kill stuff? And that's where the glory kills came in, where, you know, the way that you get more health in this game sometimes is to just go, like, running straight into the fight and, you know, and being even more aggressive. And you do that to try and enhance your health. So the thing, and then the chainsaw is the way that you get the ammo. And then the thing that they added on this one was the flamethrower, where you can get armor, which I thought was kind of neat. I need to sneeze. That's kind of why I'm doing laps in this room right now. Figure I'll get a little tea as well. But yeah, so one of the things that this one seems to have embraced, and I'm mixed in terms of my feelings on how some of these older FPSs handled it. I remember when I did Quake, I liked a couple of the levels where it seemed like there was something desirable that was hanging out in a level somewhere, but I couldn't quite articulate where it was. And then, you know, I kind of turn a corner. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is the extra perspective that I need. I liked those. But then there were a set of levels that really felt like they were more about sort of making the designer know that, or the designer really wanted me to know that they were very clever. And I really didn't enjoy those puzzles. So this one seems to, in addition to the combat, the one thing that this one seems to embrace a little bit more is the idea that in some of those older FPSs, there would be secrets and there would be benefits to exploration. And instead of just sort of charging through a bunch of levels, you know, taking out as many enemies as you can, it does actually encourage you to sort of seek out secrets, like these Slayer portals. I don't even know what the hell that is. Oh god, this guy. Nope. Okay, so I gotta ideally clear out the Marauder before they cause too many problems. Oh my god. God, I don't even know how I fight this guy with other stuff going on. No codex entry? You're kidding me. There we go. So I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I can damage him indirectly, but the Marauder definitely feels like somebody I kind of need to one-on-one, which is almost certainly why they put them in this fight with me. Fortunately, it's not timed. I'm also wondering when the BFG is appropriate. Well, got my point. God. I gotta find something to... I can't remember if there was any health hanging around here, but... It's down to 7, so I better come up with a plan quick. Okay, that's another hound on its way. This is not a smart one for me to be using right now. Pretty sure I just saw my life flash before my eyes there. Okay. I can... Ah, I needed to chainsaw that guy. So yeah, I'm sorry to be dancing... No! I was gonna say, sorry to be dancing around like this, but I wanted to preserve my health. Okay, so I gotta set some stuff on fire. Oop. God. I need to get better at those shots, otherwise it doesn't matter if, yeah. Ooh, not good. Alright, you know what? Rockets. Rockets are my new... Oh, good lord. So if I was wondering when I should use the BFG, I believe you are required to give a manly "Ah!" when you do that. Okay, that's health. I need it. BFG's out. Oh, I needed that. You know what? Screw you all. That's it? Alright. Sorry, y'all, but I'm going to deny you the deal of a lifetime. I do like doing these Slayer challenges. Alright, so the whole reason why I avoided doing anything else in this level was I wanted to get that Slayer key, which I now have. I believe I've also completed all the challenges.
The myth of the Doomslayer, his power, his will to overcome. These are the lies of the non-believers.
I don't know if you've ever played Far Cry, I believe it's Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, but if you actually hold, like if you have like a minigun and you hold the fire button down long enough, your character actually just lets out a scream for as long as you hold down the button.
Entry phase. Prepare for turbulence.
This is a neat level. Like, I'm surprised at how much, like how many cutscenes there are in this. Because I've normally associated Doom with like just constantly playing.
Lost city of Hebeth. This was before your time in the Sentinels. The slip gate will take you to Sentinel Prime, where the priest is hiding.
The Lost City of Hebeth. Vega data entry. Amidst the long and enduring history of Sentinel civilization, there are moments in antiquity that have become buried in time, forgotten chapters that remain concealed to Sentinel historians, waiting to be unearthed. The fallen city of Hebeth is one such tale, but all but forgotten to the tomes of legacy past. Once a prosperous city, a proud gleaming marker of conquest for the distant tribe of Bethian clansmen of the Outer Worlds, Hebeth bridged the disparate Sentinel cities with the ingenious design of Slipgate invention. But it was not meant to last, and among those cities lost in the crusades of Sentinel past was Hebeth, now little more than a smoldering ruin swallowed by the quaking surface of a once habitable Mars. There's something here. Howdy. Alright, because there wasn't enough action in the last one. Whoops. Okay. Back up to speed. Damn it. Okay, so I missed an opportunity to hit something there. Okay, something with a big laser's coming after me. I just can't see what yet. Whatever it is, I want to set it on fire. Oh! No, I don't. I want to blow it up. Damn it! Now I want to set it on fire. Okay, I really want that one up there, but... Okay, priorities. First of all, I'm gonna hit his energy. Okay, not the smartest move I've ever made, but it made me feel good about myself. You know what? Screw this. Also, I'm glad I got the graphic settings right, because this is really fun to play when the frame rate's smooth. And they gave me a BFG charge just to be nice. That's why.
The portal ahead will take you to Sentinel Prime, where the Hell Priest Dane Groth is waiting.
Cue electric guitars. Level complete. Oh, okay, I was right. Yeah, so not too surprising there. Now, we made decent time on that, so we should be able to get another level in. So I missed out on a secret combat encounter. Say, I don't know. As long as I get the Empyrean key, I'm usually pretty happy. Alright, so tell you what, I definitely have enough in me to go on to the next level. I don't know if I'll complete it or not, but I am going to take a small break just so I can have a little bit of a stretch and, I don't know, maybe go to the bathroom, get a refill on the tea and such. So, if you've been with me since the start, I'd also maybe recommend taking a minute to get up and have a stretch yourself. Otherwise, if you really want to see the ads, you can do that too, but I'll be back in a little bit. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Or maybe thank you, person singular, for your patience. I'm not quite sure there's too many here, but wherever you are, whether you're watching on a VOD or not, thank you for stopping by. We are back. Good to be back, Joshy. I hope you had something, a warm beverage, something to reward yourself on your couple of days off. All right. So yeah, we are we're gonna go a little bit further. I know I normally only get one level a night, but I think we've got enough to at least start this. So you've traveled through the core of Mars, arriving at the ancient city of Sentinel Prime. You have sovereignty in this unholy place for now. The Great Slayer was once a warrior king in this world. Tradition grants you safe passage, but the completion of your mission will come at a price. Hell Priest Grav is waiting. While you were gone, I transferred clothes from the washer to the dryer. Actually, here's, because AI was so popular on Friday, here's a fun idea for you, Joshy, man. We'll see whether you you have any thoughts on this. So, right now we have a bunch of technologies which sort of respond to text input. And it's kind of what I kind of like to think of a lot of this stuff is it's like you go from the first computers where you were programming in the machine language, and then Grace Murray Hopper's sort of insight that the programmer's time will become more valuable than the machine time. And so you want to create abstractions that will allow people to work more effectively. And then, of course, we've had a few other layers, increasingly high-level languages. There's a really interesting video, well, interesting if you're a certain type, on YouTube of the Bell Labs team. So, like Dennis Ritchie and Brian Kernighan. So, Ritchie had worked on sort of the C programming language in Unix. Kernighan, I don't believe, actually worked on the C language, but I believe he was one of the people who helped write. I know he wrote the C book. And then I think he sort of helped popularize it. But Kernighan calls, who's Canadian, by the way, calls C a high-level language. Oh, no, it's still a thing. I believe it was owned by Nokia for a while, and now I think it's Alcatel-Lucent. Let me just take a quick look. But this is an old Bell Labs video. Like, this would be around the time that C was being developed. So I'm sorry, I did it the wrong way around. So Alcatel-Lucent had it, and now Nokia has it. But yeah, spell Nokia Bell Labs now. No, Nokia is actually still I believe it's a public company still. I know there was an... Yeah, so this is the thing, like, I think most people's conception of Nokia is as like a handset manufacturer, and I'm sure they probably still have a line of business to do that. I know Microsoft bought the mobile phone business, but like they're also, I believe they have a big line of sort of the infrastructure that you would use at like a telecom. Yeah, like that. I think that's kind of its bigger... I think that's its bigger market. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not just an active company, but I believe it's profitable. But yeah, maybe not such a good acquisition for Microsoft, but yeah, anyway. So yeah, Bell Labs is still a thing. Actually, it's also the old location is the set for Severance, if I recall. But yeah, so... But anyway, so it's kind of funny to hear someone like Brian Kernighan call C a high-level language because, of course, you expect something like Linux to be written in C, right? People tend to think of C as the one that you write relatively low-level programs with. But that's, of course, because we have stuff like Python now, which is a much higher level. And we, of course, have visual scripting languages. And I guess the biggest thing for me is that, like, to a certain extent, you can imagine some of these technologies as just being a level of abstraction one step above, right? So you're not talking to the machine, and you're not using sort of an intermediary like COBOL or C, and you're not using something that's sort of simplified and more user-friendly like Python, now you're actually expressing intent through natural language, and there is a sort of a series of transformations that happen to this input now that do a reasonably good job of turning it into an instruction that the processor can actually run. There was a point to all of this, and I completely forgot. Oh, yeah. The neat idea of, I first know for some people it's probably not a neat idea, and it's a scary one, but I guess the next question that people would have would be, well, we seem to have this, these, these capabilities that might go into robots. So could we imagine these things helping us with chores? And of course, I was thinking of this because you're talking about doing your laundry. And the thing that I was kind of, I'm sure this is an observation others have made before. This seems like something I would have heard on a podcast, but I'm trying to remember where I first sort of encountered this idea. But if you think of it, there's a lot of stuff that has a degree of automation, right? Like, so I don't usually use it, but I do have a dishwasher in my apartment. I don't hand wash my clothes. I take them to a washing machine or a dryer. There's a lot of sort of machines that we use to help automate our tasks. And then of course there's our computers, but I'll leave the computers aside. But what's funny is the design of these machines is for us, right? They are built with the assumption that I can sort of take a dish and I can bend down and I can put it on the rack and then I can close it. And you can kind of imagine that had you had an end-to-end solution, right? You're saying, I want to completely automate the process of cleaning dishes. No human should touch the dish after they're done their meal. You could actually imagine a very different way of making that. So a fun challenge we have is that, or a fun challenge to think of rather, is that we kind of have all of these intermediate texts that are very helpful to us as humans. But the next layer of automation is potentially something that's difficult for the machines to do, precisely because the machines that the other machines will be interacting with are things that are made for humans, not other machines, which is an odd one. Or maybe it won't turn out that way, but it seems kind of funny. And it's a little bit kind of like how, the reason I was thinking of this is as I was talking with someone about this idea of sort of more and more business correspondents using LLMs to a point that like there are people who are sending emails with, sure, I will make this, email more professional for you. And, you can see how someone's going to take that email and they'll just put it into their machine. And, it's essentially a person translating into a machine, which is then sending it to another machine, which is then spitting it back out to a person. And really, that intermediate step doesn't even need to be in English if it's going to be two machines talking to each other. Anyways, separate topic for another time. So Joshua Man says, separate topic for later. What does Siemens do? I remember them also being in the handset business. I also note that I learned C++ vaguely in college, but that was about the extent of it. Yeah, I didn't do too much in terms of computer science, but we used C++ in the data structures and algorithms course. But the expectation was kind of that you would learn what you needed as you went, and a lot of it was more just like implementing the kinds of data structures that you take for granted in normal use. So like I had to implement a linked list and things like that. I will answer your Siemens question. I just want to catch up on the other messages. So even think about automation. My first job was at your dad's cleaners, where he had shirt pressing units, where 2 employees could press 60 to 65 laundered shirts per hour. Imagine how long it would take to do that by hand. But thinking about what you're talking about, it was 100% mechanical. We just needed the 2 employees to load and unload all the machines. Yeah, so I occasionally talk about this, and I'm really trying to break through in terms of some of the stuff on the blog. So I talk about productivity in games more because I actually think it's a really important topic. I have a belief that a lot of what people think are sort of discoverability problems or like indie apocalypse is actually a productivity problem. That essentially, people may be making games and selling them at $5, but that $5 on a quality adjusted basis is actually more than the game is worth. And it feels terrible to tell people that, right? Because $5 is not a whole lot of money for a game. But there's a set of expectations that people have in terms of games now, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't cost that much to get Game Pass, and you can play Doom Eternal for that cost. And even then, if you pay full price for Doom Eternal, like in terms of the amount of time you're spending on it, if you have kind of a middle of the road job, it's not that much of your overall paycheck. Obviously, if you don't have a job like that, it's quite a bit more. But in terms of sort of the target audience for some of this stuff, it's maybe not like, I never want to sound, let them eat cake when saying this stuff, but like in terms of computers, right, what you spend on a computer will usually be considerably larger than any individual game. Well, when I said builder, I was kind of thinking of the median Canadian job. So I'm actually kind of curious on this now because we've got a list in Ontario for like all public servants that make over $100,000, but that $100,000 was set in like the early 90s, I think. So it's sort of like, if you had adjusted for inflation, it would be $180,000, but they aren't adjusting for inflation. So like you have just this very large number of provincial civil servants who are making what would be, solidly middle class incomes. But in terms of Canada, I think the median income was somewhere around 70,000 a year. So I don't know if that makes me like really out of touch, but obviously the translation to US is a bit different. But yeah, so the thing here is that on a quality adjusted basis, like if someone is planting every individual tree in Skyrim, the cost of getting someone to do that, either in terms of things you don't get to implement or the cost of keeping someone like that on, of keeping someone on the payroll to do that, quickly makes the game unaffordable. But of course we don't do that, right? There's a bunch of sort of procedural generation that gets done, and then sort of the Bethesda teams goes in and makes their adjustments and such. And so, the productivity problem is that you do actually need to be able to make a certain amount of game in a certain amount of time to be able to charge enough to make it worth your while continue making games, right? Like, you do have your overhead in terms of keeping a roof over your head and, food on the table at minimum. It might be nice to have a computer to work on too. And in the end, if people are not learning the tools, right, if they're not learning Unity, or if they are kind of unaware of the time-saving features in Blender or Photoshop or GIMP or something like that, they are spending time, which again could either be made to make features which make the game sort of on par with its peers, or to engage in all the other activities that they need to do as part of the game, such as marketing. And that's what I mean in terms of productivity. But what I've gotten, the most devastating comment on one of my articles was that it had LinkedIn energy. And I get it, because people talk a lot about productivity in terms of like, I get up and I have my cold plunge, and then I have like a coffee, and then I work out for 10 hours, and then I start my day. And like, I do not know how to tell people how to be productive that way. I do think that when you think about what you described, Joshy, in terms of how you effectively use machines to do work, I think that's the more interesting conversation on productivity, because of course another challenge, and I think this is true for Canada for sure. There are a lot of cases for our businesses where we don't invest enough in capital. We don't invest enough in terms of the machines. And of course, machines are intended to be able to make us more effective at what we do. You don't just buy a machine for the sake of buying a machine, but you buy a machine so that you can get things done faster or better, or, hopefully both. And of course, there is a certain amount that goes towards the capital, but ultimately, if it's improving the labor gets a benefit from that too, because you become more productive and higher productivity is associated with higher wages. So anyways, it's a tough topic, and it's one that can be quite difficult to raise with game developers, because often they're following a dream, which I think is good. You want that, because like nobody wants to play a game where the only motivator of the developer is like, I want to win I want to get a lottery ticket, right? Like, Hollow Knight did well, I'm going to make a game like Hollow Knight. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to that, I suppose. Like, obviously, I'm not going to tell people what their interests should be, but it's hard to imagine it's kind of hard to imagine why an audience would be interested in the game where the objective is, to enrich the developer as much as possible. Usually you want to give them something in exchange. I will jump into the game in just a second. But to close off all of this, you would ask the question, what does Siemens do? So if I recall correctly, Joshy Man, I will confess, I don't actually have I don't have a really, really clear answer to this, because I believe it is a conglomerate, a little bit like GE used to be. So I believe they have a financial branch, and I believe you are correct that they had a mobile one. I'm pretty sure they're big in healthcare. And I would not be surprised if they had sort of a more industrial side, because I'm pretty sure there was like a centrifuge. Like this was, I'm trying to remember. I thought it was Siemens, but like there was talks about like centrifuges that were breaking in Iran as like part of their nuclear program. And for some reason, I thought it was Siemens that they were talking about, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, anyways, they have their hands in a few different things. Kind of like GE once upon a time owned NBC, but it also made like jet engines and nuclear power plants. Well, parts of the plants. So okay, for those of you who just wanted to see the gameplay, your time has come. Although I'm happy to answer further questions. Let's see what the challenges are. Destroy 25 Arachnotron turrets using sticky bombs. That's not the mission. Oh, okay. Vega data entry. The ancient arena is a holy place for the people of Argent Nur. Constructed in the earliest days of their history, this Colosseum served as a proving ground for trial by combat. Historical records indicate that the Argenta did not jail their own kind. Rather, prisoners and criminals were granted the right to earn their chance at regaining honor through victory in the arena. Those who succeeded were given a place to fight in the front lines of the Sentinel army, to die in the service to Argent Nur. This traditional use of the arena has subsided since the assimilation within the Dark Realm. The corrupted priests now allow more violent exchanges, with armed captives pitted against demons for sport. The priests of the Order Dig continue to hold undisputed power on Argent and Ur. Spilling the blood of the Argent Ascended class will result in the transgressor's banishment. Asylum amongst the Argenta will be denied to any who do not adhere to the rules of engagement. So I guess this is a little bit like, sorry to make all my references movie ones, but I'm assuming this is, John Wick deciding whether or not to kill someone in the Continental.
We found him in the valley, just outside the castle walls. He was badly wounded and wearing this.
Guts. Huge guts. Kill them. Must kill them all.
He has fight in him yet.
In spite of his injuries.
Send him to the arena. Let him be judged like the others.
And I appreciate that, Joshy Man. I mean, I try not to take the view that I deserve viewers. I know what you mean. I do. I like, there are some cases where I may feel a little more discouraged in terms of where things are overall. But I also kind of recognize this isn't the only thing that I have going on. So to a certain extent, like I wish the one thing that I wish was a little bit different the way that streaming works is it would be nice if there was a better feedback mechanism for understanding where I might be losing people. Because I can kind of broadly understand that people don't necessarily want gameplay to be punctuated with like long monologues. But on the other hand, there's a subset of people who do like that. And I think to a certain extent I would be willing to try and meet people where they are. But I would kind of want to do so in a more... like it would be nice to know that there was a more direct feedback mechanism to sort of be able to say, okay, if you do this, this will increase the number of viewers, but that comes at the expense of this other thing. And to be able to just try and navigate those waters and say, okay, here's the number of things that will make it interesting for me, and I'm willing to do that. But here's the point where it ceases to be interesting to me, and so as a result, I'm willing to say that this may be a halt to growth. But I mean, that's not the world we live in, right? And in some cases, I think most people that others like, so like a lot of musicians that you may like or filmmakers, they may sort of seem like they are this overnight success, but I think it's very, very rare that actually happens. I think what tends to happen is people just work on something for a very long time, and either they're right for the moment. I mean, for example, I was very lucky in terms of people responding so well to Cultist Simulator. That was a nice little boost for a bit. And, you don't really know. But I guess what I am grateful for is when people like you express appreciation like that, because, at a time when there's a lower number of viewers, it's nice to know that it's connecting with someone. No worries, Joshy, man. I mean, so on that note too, like obviously, people's connections are going to change over time, and you don't always get to control that, right? And I don't feel that. I don't feel like the better analogy for this is like when you have friends. Like if you have friends that aren't getting along, and they try to like rope you into that like argument or make you take a side, that's very uncomfortable, and it's like nobody really wins out of that. So where I can, I try not to do that. Like, you know, I wish I was like some kind of Vulcan and had like no feelings on things at all. Like, obviously, you know, I'm not indifferent to certain things, but I've never felt like you don't need to feel like you need to, you know, unperson someone or not say their name or whatever. I'm hopefully enough of a grown up to, you know, to be able to understand what you mean and not, you know, not fly off the handle. 'Cause obviously people can be hanging out wherever they want. But yeah, anyways, so I'll read what you said. Chuck, you deserve more viewers and followers. Appreciate you taking the time to educate us and help enlighten us with your insights as to what you think the devs mean in any situation. And so many others, that there are some that I like for other reasons, seem to be, look how cute I am, listen to how funny I am, while referencing memes that they didn't make. Oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, no, that's, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, it's, yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to dwell too much on other people's content. So the biggest thing that I can say is that everybody kind of has their own reason for wanting to do this stuff. And some people, you know, some people will want to do it for a living and some people will want to do it for fame. And I don't think that that is any worse of a motivation than, you know, hobby or entertainment. And, you know, in the end, I kind of accept a lot of that is not going to be for me, because the fact of the matter is I'm really not the target audience for a lot of Twitch. If people ask me, like, what do people get out of watching Twitch? I'm not a very good person to answer that, because I personally don't see a lot of value in watching people play games. It's usually a personality behind it that, you know, that drives me to it. And sometimes it's just like social connections, right? Like I know someone through another context, I want to show them some support, those sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, in some cases you don't necessarily know where someone's coming from. There's very often some things that will, you know, like they're being things are being communicated to them either explicitly or implicitly from the audience in terms of their viewer numbers. And so, especially if their priority is to hit a certain viewer count, because that does open certain opportunities for you, they may be behaving in a way that isn't even consistent with what they would want to do the most. So like I know some people who, or rather knew at least, who are reasonably well known for streaming a pretty popular game. They personally do not like the game at all and have not liked it for years. But they also understand that that's how they make a living. And so they, you know, like a job, they show up and they'll put on a smile and they'll do that game. And I don't think, you know, the large number of people that watch that broadcaster actually realize the person does not enjoy the game that they're playing at all. So, you know, like there are worse things that can happen than being ignored, let's say. And as a result, like I'm certainly not immune to, you know, feeling not great about some streams and maybe not like liking certain things. So I talked about React content for a while. And like one of the things that had really bothered me was one React where it was really clear that the broadcaster was making certain faces because they knew that that would be what was used for like a clip. And I'm sort of like, you know, if the whole point of React is a genuine reaction to something, right? The one thing that you are supposed to do, your genuineness is the thing that you have now erased through obviously trying to do your clip stuff. And it, you know, I already have a dim view of that type of content, but especially the artifice to it now, because, you know, again, most successful YouTube videos are going to have somebody like bug-eyed and wide-mouthed, usually with like an arrow pointing at something. And that's just the way that it works. So, but yeah, so like I said, I mean, I am capable of being grouchy as much as the next person on this stuff. But I, where I can, try to sort of acknowledge that what is on display on stream is not always necessarily representative of the person's core interests and values. It would be nice if someone does have that that center and is able to share a little bit more of it. But I do know that that's not always what's interesting to people. And in the end, like, I don't necessarily know if I could turn around and say that it's somehow like less arrogant to just assume that someone's, you know, deep inner self, you know, I am just so inherently interesting that people will watch anyway. At least in my case, that is not true. So yeah, like I said, it's one where when I have the benefit of some distance and just reflecting on it, I kind of try to cut people some slack, and I always like to make the constructive argument for why I like watching or, you know, supporting certain things, rather than a contrasting case where I'm sort of running down content that isn't for me. Because in the end, like, it's the easiest thing in the world to just, you know, change the channel. Yeah, well, I think that BFG 10,000 is a specific tip of the hat to the 9,000 for sure, Joshy man. But yeah, no, I mean, I think any added value that I have would probably be the new perspectives. And like, as I was kind of said at the beginning of the stream, like, I think the most interesting place to be is free enough. Actually, I think this is a lecture that John Cleese gave, but he's done some work. Oh, thank you very much, Joshy. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So, yeah, when you take... So John Cleese has this interesting idea about creativity. He's written a book on it, but I think this is an earlier lecture. And he kind of talks about creativity being this open state, and how one of the easiest ways to go from that open state to a closed state is to be worried about saying the wrong thing or making a mistake. And it's something that I don't know any kind of psychology behind it, but that's something that rings true to me, in the sense that some of the best material that I've done in terms of like brainstorming and conversation has often been in an environment where maybe not everything I say is spun gold, but I've felt free enough to be able to sort of work through some of the muddled stuff. And on the way, there's something really good that comes out. And I think the environments in which I've been able to do the least interesting work, I can actually think of a couple of specific brainstorming exercises where someone like really was quick to shut down an idea. Those are the ones where I've absolutely clammed up. And the sharp stuff, the stuff that I sometimes, if I have a reputation, that would be the reputation that I have, like the good stuff that I do. Completely cut off. And again, it's based entirely on that openness and closed, and the idea that, you know, essentially, do you feel you can play around with this? Are you enabled to make a mistake? And I think there's still the tricky part about this is you do not want it to be sort of an egocentric exercise, or you do not want it to be sort of this very fragile state where, you know, every idea that you have is precious and, you know, cannot be challenged at any time. Part of the process is also trimming, you know, once you've moved on, once you've got enough to work with, then you can sort of start pruning and saying, okay, that's not very feasible. That's, you know, maybe not going to work here. So like, you know, the asteroids coming to Earth, you know, well, we need to give it a stern talking to. And it's like, you know, well, that worked with children, but, you know, so far as we can tell, the Stern talking to is not going to stop the asteroid from hitting Earth. If you don't have that pruning mechanism, you are going to waste time giving a meteorite a talking to. But the value in being open and not snipping off those intermediate steps, to me, that's kind of where the magic is. The famous Ben Affleck commentary on that one, where it's like, you mean to tell me that these astronauts can't learn to be oil men, but these oil men can learn to become astronauts at the same time? Yeah. Yep. We've seen the same clip. But yeah, what was it? Yeah, the thing is that you don't want to do that too early in the process either, because the fun stuff, the perspectives that you talk about, the ideas do benefit from a little bit of an open space to sort of run around in. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good stuff, and sometimes it's a disaster. But as much as I can, I guess it's nice. I guess the one thing I've always kind of liked to do, and I'm glad that you respond so well to it, where possible, just to give people another angle to look at things with, because it's fun for me to do, right? I mean, it's kind of the reasons why we like reading books, or why we like listen to radio plays or something like that. If you can try and see another angle on it, very often what happens is you find that it's not necessarily contrary to your previous or your surface level understanding of things. What you just often find is that there are hidden depths to some of the things that you enjoyed. And that can be really, to me, that can be really fun when you see something that has been a favorite and you learn something new about it. And that could be something that, you've watched your entire life or listened to your entire life or whatever. Discovering something new in something that you thought that you knew so well can sometimes be the most exciting. So, yeah, I appreciate it. So thank you. History of the Sentinels, Part 4, translation from the Ligra Sultigenta, Book of Kings. In the time of King Novik, as the Argenta secured peace and safety through dimensions across time and space, an outlander came to us. He was not of our world and spoke an ugly tongue. How he first took step upon our land was unknown. Sentinel scouts had found the outlander bloodied, clawed, and near death, mumbling of impending doom and the forces of darkness. The scent of blood followed him, and the gore that stained his armor seemed not entirely his own. By Argenta law, the stranger would be judged in the Colosseum, where he would be given the chance of all who stray from the path to fight for his freedom. We knew not of this stranger. His mind seemed crippled with rage. He dressed in attire not suited for our lands and carried munition of arcane origin. We watched as his will overcame his injuries, and in the blood arena he proved his worth. The Outlander's technique was crude and brutal, but the determination in his charge echoed that of any true-born sentinel. His war cry echoed through the Colosseum, as did the sound of his fury, and the guards cheered his banner. Rip and tear, they shouted, as the beast pushed beyond mortal wounds and certain death. He would be gifted no rank, no title. The survivors in the arena were provided only one reward, the right to earn an honorable death while spreading the blessings of the Makers to those in need. The Outlander's determination was witnessed, his ravings documented, and through the word of the Order Dig, the Khanmaker had him brought before her. She set her minions to learning his tongue, for with his ugly words he spoke of lands unseen, creatures born of fire, and a dark place unknown to the Queen and her caste. Yet another opportunity to expand the gift of the Makers to those in need. So I'm assuming what this is connecting the old Doom games to sort of the lore of this current one. I will confess, I wish I was a little bit more engaged with this stuff. Like I do want to follow through with it and understand it a bit better, but I know I've missed a couple of entries here. So I am kind of curious to see where this is going, but it's not quite Wolfenstein was one that really surprised me in terms of the quality of the story, and I really felt I felt like I wanted to.
I offer you a great powerful one, a sign of truce.
But yeah. I wanted to I really wanted to see what was going on in the Wolfenstein setting, whereas this one it's like it's fine, like it's not bad, but I think the one for me, oh sorry, just a second. In Doom 2016, I thought they did a nice little take on the Faust story, which, was fun. It didn't get in the way. You're able to rip and tear until it was done. And that's all it really needed to be. And this one really does seem to want to build out this whole world. And again, that's not a bad thing, but it's less clear to me that this was... Like the decision to add the fire or the glory kills or the chainsaws as ways of generating health and armor and ammo while still maintaining the pace of the combat, that's the sort of thing that I'd never seen in a first-person shooter, never knew that I wanted or needed, but when I played it, it's like, my God, like this is exactly what I need. Whereas for some of the story stuff, it's like, I never really had this moment. It was like, I really wish that I could hear the Doom guy's voice, or I really wish I understood the motivations of the Doom guy. And that's fine, because I'm sure like it may be very interesting at the end. I may be very happy that I see the stakes and hear the story. But it's not quite gripping me the way that that the Wolfenstein stuff did. You mentioning Faust reminded you of how well Nier Automata distorted so many theories and thought processes. That's one of the games that I wish I could play again for the first time. Kite really likes Nier Automata, and it's one that I kind of would like to see just because I hear a few people talk about it in these really reverential tones. And but I don't even have it. But it's kind of on my radar. I should check it out. All right, translation from the Ligra Saltagenta, Book of Kings. On the eve of the Black Star, the Dark Ones came from a world beneath our own, not through ship nor ephemeral vessel, but through the fabric of dimensions. Out of swirling fiery gates came horned beasts from a timeless realm. First one, then many, crashing waves of evil swelled from the obsidian forest to the Argentine overlands. The Alorum clans from the eastern mountains fell first to the black hordes of devils, and the city of Telorum was slung under the weight of their charge. We sentinels rose to meet the beasts with spear in hand, the might of the holy fleet striking back at the demons, but the dark gates from whence they came gave birth still to even greater hordes. A line of blood was drawn with the fallen of both sides, and the unholy wars began as the time of darkness came upon us. That's very kind of you, Joshy, man. And I don't want to... So people have been very kind in terms of the things that they've offered yet. So let me put it to you this way. I will not rule out Nier Automata in the future. However, I know Vesper alone has gifted 2 things to the stream, including Ace Attorney. And there's a couple of things that I want to catch up on and do first. So I'd actually feel... It's a remarkably kind offer, but I would actually feel quite bad if I were to accept it now, because at the moment, I'm actually already trying to get through all of the things that I want to get through. But, and I don't mean this just to sort of let someone down lightly, if you don't mind, let's maybe put a pin in that. And when I think it seems like something I can do in the future, if I don't already have it, because there are a couple of other ways that I get games. Maybe we'll resume this conversation at a time when I have a little more freedom. Because it is one, like, especially because of the people I know who really like it. It's one that I'd like to, like, it's one I'd kind of like to play for myself, to be completely honest. But if there's interest in me doing it on a stream, like, that's the sort of feedback that I want to take on board and make the most out of. So, but with that in mind, I don't want to create an expectation that doesn't.
If you let the priest live, then I will return to you what the demons took from you so long ago. You need only turn back, and it will be yours again. All the pain you carry will be gone.
Interesting. Yeah, that definitely sounds like something I'm interested in, Joshy Man. I'm gonna try and move back one. Okay. The History of the Sentinels, Part 6. Unlike the enemies of the past, we could not contain the demons emergent from the Dark Realm. Their weaponry was not conjured from machine steel, but from the essence of their very being, a dark magic not known to us in our many conquests. Had we grown overconfident, our victory serving to dull our blade as we drank in the glory of our expanding empire? Lost, we knew not how to prevail against this foe. The Maker Gods stood perplexed, and our engineers and priests scrambled to find the advantage in battle we so desperately needed. Unknown to the enemy, we were pushed to the brink of defeat, and our gods stood with us as we worked to find the answer. The Order of the Dig were first to unlock the mystery of these foul creatures. The priests were able to capture several of the beasts and set about to identify the source of their power. It was then that the essence of the Dark Realm was discovered. Not wholly unlike our own, this power was the life essence that flowed through their twisted form and powered their attacks. It could be harnessed to power our own weapons, giving the Argenta the chance to combat the demons on even footing. The priests believed that with greater knowledge of the essence, we could discover its source and cut it off from the demons to strangle their armies from within, allowing us to regain the advantage we required for victory on the battlefield. The Khan Maker gave blessings to our majesty and directed the priests to delve deeper into the mysteries of the Scarlet Elixir from the demonic realm, for she sought only to return balance to our universe. Proper assimilation was required, as hell stood beyond her influence. After the great effort, the priests discovered more than they had ever hoped for. They learned of the true nature of the demonic energy and how it could strengthen those skilled enough to harness its power. The energy coursing through the malformed bodies of our relentless enemy could be used to end life or to enhance it. The power to heal, to mend, immortality, knowledge, and enlightened faculties beyond our understanding. With the demon's life force in the skilled hands of the Sentinel priests and under the righteous gaze of the Khan Maker, our people would not only rise to victory over the unholy horde that clawed at our walls, we would move to a higher plateau of existence, ushering in a new era of military science and industrial healing. No sentinel would grow sick, no maker would need to suffer the transfiguration they so feared. All would be risen, none could ever oppose our peaceful ways and threaten our world again. True balance over hell and its legions, over space and time, in this world and all others, we would dictate the order. United with the makers, we would find peace eternal. Part 7. Actually, I should have brought up the... There, you got it. Whoa. That's not what I wanted. Part 7. Translation from the Ligra Septuaginta, Book of Kings. The Khanmaker demanded a tithe of the essence, and driven by her desire, the priests submitted themselves to her will. The Order of the Dig took counsel with the king, speaking only of the spoiled lands to be found through the cleft in creation, and the opportunity to purge the new invaders from Argent D'Nur. We took the war to their cursed land, pressing through the gates of wizardry. There was one among us who seemed to know the true nature of these foul demons. It was the Outlander, the stranger who had come to us from places unknown, he who had survived in the front lines far longer than any Sentinel-born prisoner had before. His passion for battle against the vile horde was evident, his lust for their destruction matching our own. Though Argent D'Nur remained a foreign land to him, his fervor caught the attention of the inquisitors of the Sentinel Guard, some whispering of a suspected allegiance he held in secret with the demons. Silencing the critics, King Novik deemed him worthy of selection. The signifiers brought a commission to our king, and it was decided that he be lifted from the common rabble. Though no arena-born prisoner had ever been granted the honor, the Knight Sentinels broke tradition and deemed the Outlander worthy of training. A number of disciples grumbled and chafed at the barbarian present in their ranks, but in the war with the demons all opportunities for even the slightest advantage were to be considered, and as they witnessed the stranger spar with their hallmasters, they found him an undying, unrelenting compatriot. This man was an outsider, friend to none, and yet rose each time he was thrown to the dirt of the circle. Battered and bruised, his brow stained with blood, he rose with a grim determination for the chance to face his enemies in armed combat once again. Time passed as the stranger was instructed in the codified matrices of their order, the ancient lessons of battle and brotherhood taught to all sentinels. He could sense the opportunity before him. Soon all of hell would feel his wrath once again. Satisfied that he would not be a detriment to their prowess, the Knight Sentinels granted him his wish as they ventured through the hell gates with the stranger in tow. They knew no rest, fighting in the unnatural elements and training under the blood moon of night. The stranger suffered exhaustion, wounds, and sickness, but asked for no aid and was offered none. 3 times the Knight Sentinels ventured into the gate and back, and upon every return the stranger strode, more capable than before, his gait locked in step with the march of the Sentinels, a disciplined and now controlled lust for demon blood ever present. The passing of years and numerous battles with the devils indentured the stranger to Argenta's mightiest warriors, and no longer did they condescend to him as a new-blooded conscript, for to them he had become a brother in arms forged in war, an ally and a weapon. Okay, I gotta reorient myself. So I guess it was trying to get me here. Aha.
I pity the humans. I do. Theirs is a hard role to play. But I too have a world to save. Without their souls, there can be no hell energy, and the Argent will cease to flow. I cannot allow this to happen. You will not stand in the way of Urdak's progress. This is how it has always been done. It is not for you to deny us our chance at prosperity.
Part 8. Translation from the Ligra Septuaginta, Book of Kings. As we warred with the beasts, the Argenta society grew under the watchful eye of the Makers and through the endless power of the Essence. While our generals were consumed with the unholy war, our culture was marked by the beautiful potion the enemy had provided us, the sweet elixir. It brought us immeasurable capacity and empowered us to reach further into dimensions once thought to be beyond our grasp. Under the direction of our maker gods and the engineering of our high priests, our weapons blazed and our war machines stormed. The throngs of the populace drank deeply from the well of energy unveiled by the priests, but we of the Night Sentinels took no part in their abundance. Some among us whispered accusations and warnings against this manner of progress, but they were quelled, as it was not our role to dictate the future of our people, only to defend it. So yeah, just so I can be clear, this is, I'm intrigued, to say the least. Obviously, I was a little skeptical in terms of do I need the elaborate lore for the Doom guy, but I am kind of interested to see where this goes. No, I shouldn't say kind of. That sounds grudging. I'm interested to see where this goes. Translation from the Ligra Soltagenta, Book of Kings. I did like in XCOM 2, I always wondered if it was because I was in Vancouver at the time, but I think in XCOM 2, the first mission takes place in Vancouver. And I was like, oh, did they just like try and get the location? That's kind of a neat touch, but apparently it does start. The one that really surprised me, so I'm in the capital city now, Ottawa. And I found out that in what was it? BattleTech. So I believe in the case of BattleTech, there is, so there, like, I was aware of it. I think it changed ownership or something. But anyways, I was kind of aware of like very old BattleTech where there were the clans. And I think there was this idea that the clans had been sort of fought to a standstill by the Inner Sphere. And there were... But like basically there's a whole series that like, because I never played any of the games, I never, or like the games that had come out at like some Mech Commander and stuff like that, I wasn't aware of like the Jihad, which had like, you know, fundamentalist Comstar, and I think there was like there's like the Republic of the Sphere and the Dark Age, and apparently now, yes, I did play Phantom Brigade. I'd really like to get back to it, actually. But yeah, that's actually by Brace Yourself Games, who are based in Vancouver. But what intrigued me was that apparently the timeline has progressed where there's a renewed clan invasion of the Inner Sphere, that the clan successfully seized Terra. And actually, no, I might be getting this wrong. I can't remember if it's this or if it was the battle on... No, I'm pretty sure that it was this battle. But there's like a final battle between Clan Wolf and Clan Jade Falcon to sort of decide... who decide, I guess, who the Ilkhan is. I could be getting this wrong. But there's basically this major decisive battle in the current timeline of BattleTech, and it turns out that it's Ottawa where it's fought. And I'm like, that is such an unusual choice. I'm happy, but anyways. Translation from the Ligra's Soltagenta, Book of Kings. As the Black Star ascended to its zenith, King Novik sat restless on his throne as a howling darkness began to assemble just beyond the mountain rise to the east. The blight came up upon us in droves, flooding forth from the Hellgate with merciless fury. They brought with them a monstrous titan, the Dreadnought, a beast to rival the stature and menace of even the mightiest ancestral. The grotesque giant laid waste to all before him, crushing all in his path. This was a total demonic assault, striking at the heart of Argent-Dur as never before. How was it that the behemoth could pass through the demonic gate without warning? We would never know, though as Night Sentinels believed treason was at play. Caught off guard, the Sentinels scrambled late in defiance of the Titan and his horde, and with his coming the Holy of Taras Nabad prepared for judgment. With the onslaught of the demons massed in the sprawling shadow of the abhorrent fiend, the city shook to its foundation. None were spared save those that fled north. The vile swarm ransacked our temples and palaces, burning our towers and feasting on the souls of our clergy. Yet the Night Sentinels rallied and held fast against the demons, though they were pushed back and corralled at the blood arena. As the dark of night descended, their swords remained potent and shred the enemy multitude with abandon. Amidst the unyielding ranks of the Sentinels, when all other apprentices had fallen in battle, stood the Outlander. "Rip and tear," he roared, ferocious in battle. The remaining conscripts of the arena stood in awe as they witnessed the beast who had once raged within their very cells, now armored alongside the shoulders of his sentinel brethren. He had risen where none other had before, a true-born sentinel fighter, the very best among them. But though the swarm fell before their assault, the Titan remained invincible, for none could tame the behemoth alone. Yeah, no problem, Joshy, man. Thank you very much for hanging out tonight. In the hours before dawn, as the Night Sentinels weathered the relentless assault, the Outlander held his ground at the foot of the great wall in the northern bend of the castle. Seeing his unending vigor, Samur, Chancellor of the Mother God, hurried the Outlander away under a veil of secrecy and, for reason unknown, submitted him to a rite untold. This was heresy, for Samur received no consent from the Khan Maker, nor did he receive her counsel. In the Chapel of Purity, the Outlander submitted himself to the divinity machine. There, Samur Maker, the seraphim known only to us as the aid to the Mother God, blessed the Outlander with fierce speed and power to match his will. It was the method by which this transformation took place that was most uncertain to us, for we were of the knowledge that the Maker device bestowed onto the Argenta so many generations ago was to be used by the priests only to find the impurity among us. How could it be that the device was meant to cull the sentinel breed out of its contaminant? The device that was meant to cull the sentinel breed of its contaminants could then be used to purify the Outlander's body and give rise to the one who would lead us into battle henceforth. What rose from the holy coffin on that fateful day was not the impure abomination the Covenant warned us of. The hero within would come to be known only as the Great Slayer, the Time Walker, the warrior Khan, whose fire sword would blaze forth a path for the just and cut through the demonic horde with the vengeance that only a god king could summon. He rose unbroken by the ritual, his eyes burning with Maker magic. He took the crucible in his hand, and wraith fire leapt forth from the blade, as only it will when held by a true sentinel warrior king. In our darkest hour, the Slayer had been chosen. Defying tradition, our most sacred laws, and the will of the great Khan herself, a stranger to our lands had been blessed with celestial might. So one really funny thing about this is reminding me a lot. I don't think I played this on stream, but this is reminding me a little bit of Amnesia Rebirth. So Amnesia: The Dark Descent has sort of this has these alchemical substances generated through people's suffering, basically. And in the case of... Okay, actually, here's the thing that I have to say about frictional games. I actually think frictional is at their best when they have kind of science fiction-y elements to it. So like Soma is an amazing game, but Amnesia Rebirth actually has kind of this science fiction-y element to it, which I thought was kind of neat. They do it well. But yeah, so like in it, there is this energy that is generated through the suffering of effectively an entire species. And there's this realization that this entire civilization is sort of built on this tremendous suffering and this understanding that, you know, by the people that it can't go on, that it is a, you know, it is just this completely abominable and immoral situation. But of course, in the context of Amnesia Rebirth, it's in the context like it takes place in Algeria. So there's sort of these these overtones of sort of empire and colonialism and such. I imagine this one is probably a little bit more about economic growth, right? Because of the energy of the Argent, the Faust story here. So in this case, I'm wondering if it's more sort of the pitting the present needs against the needs of the future. But that also might be coming from the fact that I was watching Tenet recently. All right, Vega data entry. De Grave remains the most powerful of the Hell Priests among the people of Argent D'Nur. Frequently visiting his ancient homeworld to lord over the populace, arrogant and pompous, Grave calls for blood sport in the arena to entertain the fallen citizens of Sentinel Prime. Since the demonic invasion of Earth began, he has operated on the planet's surface along with his fellow Hell Priests to direct Hell's forces. But after the deaths of Deg Nilox and Deg Ranak, he has fled to the safety of the arena. It was Deg Grave who facilitated the torment and eventual betrayal of the Sentinel commander Valen, taking the keys to the Sepulchre of Elements and opening the vault of the sleeping wraiths. The ancient creatures were abducted, transported to Hell, and tortured to siphon away their power. He used the heart of Valen's son to animate the Icon of Sin, a titan still spoken of in legend throughout Argent D'Nur. Guy sounds like a real jerk. Bring it. You're the one who's making the... Yeah. Gladiator. In the years following the end of the Golden Age, competing factions of Argent D'Nur turned against one another. An insidious influence had beset itself upon the Sentinel people, corrupting its once-held sacred traditions. The Colosseum, once a place of honorable combat, where prisoners of the Argenta were tested for the right to fight in the front lines of their army, has since become a place of blood sport. In violation of Sentinel law, the priests have encaged a demon there, a merciless executioner used to enact judgment of their own decree. The gladiator, wielding an accursed shield which entombs the tormented soul of his undying master, remains undefeated in battle, infamous for the many lives it has claimed.
You'll make a fine addition to the front lines, stranger.
The demons! They are everywhere. Must kill them all!
Dress his wounds and bring him to us. I want to know more about the others he speaks of.
Yes, Your Grace. If Sentinel holy blood is spilled on these grounds, you will lose all sovereignty here.
Nice reveal. The Gladiator. When the shield's eyes flash green, the Gladiator is about to attack. Shoot him when the eyes are green to stagger him and create an opening. Good fight music. Nuts. So, it's not entirely clear to me if I'm messing this up because I'm not hitting... Okay, no, it's definitely the demon I gotta hit. So, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really liking this encounter right now. Nope. Without his shield, the Gladiator is more aggressive and has a wider variety of attacks. When the Gladiator spins one of its flails, it returns attacks back to the player. When the Gladiator's eye flashes green, he is about to strike. Okay, I'm not... Okay, I gotta find a way of... Oop. Yes, the problem here is I'm losing opportunities to heal. Oh, not good. So part of this might just be a question of, like, doing as much damage as possible in one... Okay. Yeah, so this is definitely going to take some getting used to. Gonna do jump rope. Okay, not great. Gets me a lease on life. Damn it. So the thing is, I wish I had a little more elegance in dealing with this. Because if I use up all these all this health, or these 1-ups, I'm not going to be able to get to the same spot again. Yeah, that was not a good round. But wait, that can't be the end.
This stops nothing. Earth will be consumed, regardless of what.
The portal is ready. We should leave immediately.
Cool. Glory kills on demons. Now instantly charge a blood punch. All right, that was a lot of fun. I'm really glad that I did that, but we're also just at the 3-hour mark, so I'm gonna say let's save and exit. I know it was a quieter stream tonight, but obviously thank you to Joshy Man for the host. Actually, there's a few more of you here than I thought. I hope you all didn't just start right now. But yeah, there's I appreciate all of you hanging out. I hope you at least got to see that fight, because that was actually quite a bit of fun. I think I will... So the plans for this week, I know I started later tonight just because of the hour that I got in from work. So Wednesday I should be back. I'm probably more inclined to play Doom Eternal. If it works like the previous ones, the ways it's normally worked has been there's some Doom Eternal, and then if I don't feel like I'm able to do the next level, I'll do the Ace Attorney trilogy, which Vesper Fortune very kindly gifted to the stream. I'm actually quite enjoying it, so I don't always get a chance to play visual novels, but it's an intriguing one, and it's got a fun attitude. So I realize it's a really wild change of pace between Doom Eternal and the Ace Attorney series, but it's working for me. Anyways, but yeah, my intention right now is to do Doom Eternal on Wednesday. I will try to do it. I will try to start closer to 7 if I can. The one thing that is nice is Friday, which will be Cyberpunk. I think I will be working from home. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but if I am, it probably means I'll be able to start a little bit closer to on time. So that's a rough plan for the week. In terms of holidays, let me just try and work out Right. Okay. So what it looks like here is the 16th, I think. I should double check this actually, because there is going to be a day where we have to shift the meetup by one day. But anyways, the way it's sitting right now, I believe the 16th will be a day I take off for the local game dev meetup. I noticed that week is Good Friday, so I usually take the Canadian holidays off, which will mean Good Friday and Easter Monday. Now, the way I usually do that is I basically give myself the option. So if I feel up to it, I'll do my best to try and stream. But yeah, I think probably the next absences are most likely to be the 16th, the 18th, and the 21st, which I realize is a bit of a long stretch. But I guess the good news is that Wednesday, Friday, and then Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then the Monday, and then the Wednesday, you have me. So I don't think that makes any sense. Anyways, let's find somebody online tonight to host. We have... there's a couple people, but I think I will leave you in the capable hands of Kilgore Trout, who's playing something in the spirit of Doom Eternal. He's actually playing Hexen Beyond Heretic. Oop, but I'm currently on all caps, so... but yeah, I will... again, thank you for watching. I will be back on Wednesday. But Kilgore is a fun one because not only is he playing a retro game, but he tends to play these retro games on original hardware. So he has like an old computer running various flavors of Windows and DOS. So in this case, what I would hope for those of you that do like the idea of sort of seeing what the, some of the discussions in terms of how Doom took the, Doom took, kind of asked the question, hey, what are some of the things that we liked about the old game that we can bring into the modern age rather than just copy? In the case of watching Kilgore and Hexen, you get a chance to kind of see some of those conventions that these newer games are doing, kind of being founded. I think Hexen is a reasonably well-regarded entry in the series. I personally haven't played it, but I believe a bunch of the material for it is open source, so maybe I should take a look. Anyways, I gotta get some sleep. Thank you everybody again for watching. Please enjoy Kilgore's stream, and we'll see you Wednesday. Until then, take care.